So as you know, the SEC is suing Elon Musk, Tesla CEO, over the Twitter deal. I want to go over the details of this stuff because I've noticed that many of the Tesla fanboys and fangirls have been basically dishonest with you about what's going on with this thing, and many of the Elon pumpers are just frankly straight out lying on these stuff. And this is a very cut and dry case. When you get 5% ownership of a company, you got to disclose it to the SEC. And so you either file the paperwork or you didn't. Elon Musk didn't file the paperwork, so this should be a fairly, cut and dry case. And I want to go over the details of this stuff so it's clear to you. First, you can see this is from Politico. It's interesting. It says why the SEC's lawsuit against Musk is likely to last. This is a former SEC attorney says the new commission is going to be mindful of not wanting to appear to be doing the bidding of the president's best buddy, right? Because, even though we all kind of know there's a bunch of cronyism and these kind of things, will they be willing to sort of display that on an obvious case to where Musk gets totally off? In my opinion, if they want to at least appear, give the appearance of that, hey, we're still going to, regulate everyone, just make Musk pay a small fine and be done with it, right? Just settle. But we'll see. If Trump's people come in and say, okay, absolutely no penalty for Musk, this is a, terrible prior administration, terrible prior SEC, then we'll get a general sense of where this is going. So this is actually a pretty big case early on for the Trump people. So that's why it's kind of interesting to watch. Another SEC official says you couldn't have a messier situation. It may particularly put a new chair in a very, very challenging position. So are you going to show loyalty to Trump or not? That's essentially what we're going to look at from the new SEC chair. I showed you guys before, but I'll show you again. Remember Musk's response to this lawsuit from the SEC. He says here, totally broken organization. They spend their time on stuff like this, and stuff mean SHI. You guys know the rest. Stuff like this when there are so many actual crimes that go unpunished. And Musk, fans were like, oh, the current SEC is a dumpster fire, and they also complain that this is a lawfare, that kind of stuff. You'll see that, or you'll see people out there saying, oh, you got to delete the SEC. They're so bad. Or this Aaron person says it's just a hand smack agency, or maybe Doge can cut the fat, right? Cut the SEC. It's like, who are these people? Are these actually real people? I don't know. Here's the Empress Heavy. Just for example, this stuff you see on supporting Musk. They were talking about the SEC. They were formulated after the Wall Street crash of 1929. Yet it seems they have lost sight of their original mission nearly 100 years later. And it's like, no, they haven't. The SEC is just enforcing the law. Again, if you get over 5% ownership of a company, you disclose that to the SEC, right? File the paperwork. And basically, it prevents people from doing insider trading or corporate raiding. The SEC in the lawsuit, it was interesting. So here's a lawsuit here. It's the SEC against Elon Musk. And they actually quote the Williams Act of 1968. And basically, this was passed to make it so that, make a level playing field. So you couldn't just have these people come in and just, buy up stock secretly or buy it with a compressed time frame, right? In 1968, they passed this thing. Let me give you an example, just a simple example. Whenever Warren Buffett announces he's buying a company, right? So we'll use the example of Occidental. It gets out in the press, and then everyone's like, well, I mean, if Warren Buffett's buying, I'm totally buying too, right? I think you guys know this. Or if you find out that, whatever company is going to get acquired by something that's just kind of rumor like that, you start buying up said stock. So this is sort of why you have these rules of where you have to disclose stuff, especially when you get over the 5% threshold. So no one's stopping you. There's nothing illegal about buying stock. Elon Musk has the right to buy stock, right? And so it's not like we're taking away your rights. We're actually trying to protect everyone. Because imagine another situation, just say insider trading, where Musk is tells all his friends, hey, I'm going to, announce publicly on, a week from now that I'm going to be buying Twitter. What do you think is going to happen to the stock? So a lot of people will buy it ahead of time, right? There's all sorts of stuff with this. This is why we have laws on these things. Regarding Musk in particular, the SEC actually gives a lot of detail. I'll read just a little bit of it so you can get a general sense of what it is. And this says here, this is from the lawsuit. It says, Musk accumulates over 5% of Twitter's common stock, but fails to disclose his stake when required. So that's the key. That's the key part. Did you disclose it or not? And we actually have dates. We have sort of what was said. This is all come from the SEC. It says, on or about January 31st, 2022, Musk's personal wealth manager, acting at Musk's direction, instructed a broker to start purchasing large blocks of shares of Twitter's common stock on Musk's behalf, but not to exceed 5% of Twitter's outstanding common stock. So, yeah, like the way that this is, they're charging him is saying, hey, you knew the rule, you knew the laws, and probably they do. These people aren't stupid, and so they're like, okay, start buying the stock, just don't go over the 5%, right? So that's what Musk's orders were, I guess. Also says here, Musk understood that any substantial increase in Twitter's common stock price would increase his cost to purchase shares. Accordingly, Musk's wealth manager cautioned the broker to make purchases in a way that would minimize any increase in Twitter's stock price that might result from the purchases, right? So again, if you're buying up stock, you kind of want to keep it secret. You want to necessarily buy it all at once to boost the price. Like, do a little bit here, do a little bit there. They're mindful of money, and you guys understand how this works because you're creating buying pressure. But again, they're well aware of the law, and they're also trying to keep the stock suppressed, right? You want to buy it as cheap as possible. Who doesn't know that? That's why you wouldn't necessarily publicly announce it. Musk then also says here, Musk and his wealth manager also understood that once Musk's Twitter stake was disclosed to the public, Twitter's common stock might substantially increase. And then historically, when they did announce it, I think it went up like 27% in a day. So this was back in the time of like everything was memeing, right? So if Musk would tweet out, hey, I'm buying Dogecoin, or it would go to the moon. So that's why you, again, keep things private. So this is why you have laws in place. Also says at the time, Musk directed his wealth manager to purchase Twitter common stock, and Musk and his wealth manager both understood that federal security laws require certain owners of more than 5% of a public company common stock to publicly disclose their ownership stake to the public by filing a report with the SEC, right? So it's all about, did you file or not? And they didn't. So that's why I'm going through this, guys, with you. So there's no uncertainties of what's going on. As Musk's wealth manager had requested, the broker purchased large blocks of shares of Twitter common stock on Musk's behalf on January 31st, 2022, and continued through February 2022, right? So they keep buying this stuff. In or around late February 2022, this is like a month, the broker repeatedly suggested to Musk wealth manager, okay, this is the broker telling a Musk wealth manager, that Musk obtain legal advice, right? Talk to your lawyer, to his obligations under federal securities laws to publicly disclose his holdings if he became the beneficial owner of at least 5% of the Twitter's outstanding common stock. So even the broker is like, yo, you got to be in compliance here. Talk to your lawyer. Like that. That's what's going on here. Seeks legal advice, which is good advice. Don't break the law. But neither Musk nor his wealth manager sought or obtained legal advice in February or March of 2022 as to Musk's obligations under federal securities laws to publicly disclose the Twitter holdings. Again, this is all fairly cut and dry. My opinion is Musk just pay the fine and be done with it. But this is why I'm going through this stuff, because like I said, the Twitter people just like make random stuff up and they ignore the actual lawsuit here. It says on or about February 28th, 2022, the broker asked Musk's wealth manager whether Musk wanted to continue buying shares and common stock up to and past the 5% beneficial ownership threshold. Musk's wealth manager did not provide an answer until on or about March 8th, 2022. At Musk's direction, so this is Musk, he ordered it. On or about March 8th, 2022, Musk's wealth manager instructed the broker to continue buying shares of Twitter common stock for Musk past the 5% threshold, right? Start buying above the 5%. On March 14, 2022, the broker purchased approximately 2.8 million shares of Twitter common stock on Musk's behalf. As of the closing of the trading day, Musk beneficially owned more than 5% of the shares. And the reason why you have to go through all these facts is because Musk could argue, oh no, I wasn't buying it. It was my broker. They acted all independently. Or no, it wasn't me. It was my wealth manager. They acted independently. So that's why you have to show a sort of line of like who's making the decisions. Did Musk know you're breaking the law? Did he order of not disclosing properly, these kind of things, right? Again, that's why I'm going through this detail, because there's too much misinformation out there. I'm just reading from the SEC. Also says, after the closing trading of March 14th, 2022, the broker informed Musk's wealth manager that Musk held more than 5% of outstanding shares of Twitter common stock, right? You got to win 5% of this stuff. Within a week of March 14, 2022, Musk's wealth manager informed Musk that he held more than 5% of the shares of common stock. So you got the broker saying it, the wealth manager saying it. Because Musk crossed the 5% threshold on March 14th, he was required to publicly disclose his Twitter holdings by filing a beneficial ownership report. So it's Schedule 13D, or you could do a 13G, I guess it says. And then also between March 14th and March 24th, Musk continued to purchase shares of common stock as of close of trading on March 24th. Musk beneficially owned more than 7%. So now he's got 7% of this stuff. Then it says here, Musk filed neither, so he didn't filed neither the Schedule 13D or the 13G, right? So now he's at 7% and still hasn't filed the paperwork, right? So I have to go over this. I mean, I think they know what they're. It's like that's why you say like they know they were breaking the law. B. Musk continues to accumulate Twitter stock in days following the deadline to disclose his stake. So on March 25th, Musk purchased 3.5 million shares of Twitter common stock at the average price of $38.20. As of close of trading that day, Musk beneficially owned 8% of the shares, right? So now he's at 8%, still hasn't disclosed it to the SEC. Again, this is a pretty cut and dry case. I mean, he may actually face penalty for this stuff, but like I said, we'll see. That's why I'm going through it. On March 25th, Musk knew approximately what percentage of outstanding shares of Twitter stock he beneficially owned, right? Because you have to prove, like, because Musk could make the case, oh, I didn't know how much stock I had. I didn't know I was supposed to file paperwork, but, they're saying that you knew. And that he had not yet disclosed his stake to the public by filing the right paperwork with the SEC. And then Musk starts talking to other people about it. So this is how you know that Musk knows he's got ownership. In a conversation on Sunday, March 27th, Musk privately informed a member of the Twitter board, right? And I guess they don't put the name of this person, they just call it board member A, that he owned at least 7% of Twitter's outstanding common stock, right? So this matters that you'll have a witness because, you're supposed to disclose that you got over 5% of this stuff. Musk is now sharing with other people, hey, I got 7%, right? And he still hasn't disclosed this publicly, right? So you could call this like an insider trading thing. This is how this stuff works. You keep it all secret as long as you can. In this conversation, board member A suggested to Musk that he join the Twitter board of directors, right? So you're buying a bunch of this stock, you should join the board. Musk expressed interest in doing so in this conversation. Musk asked board member A whether he had ever considered taking Twitter private. Board member A said yes. So then you got on March 27th, board member A, right, sent a group message to the chair of Twitter's board of directors, another member of the Twitter board, CEO, Musk writing, and this is the text. So like all these people heard this. Elon, everyone excited about your prospect of being involved on the board. Next step is you to chat with 3 of them so we can move on this forward quickly. Maybe we can get this done in a few days. And then on March 28th, Musk purchased more shares, 2.6 million shares of Twitter common stock, now at $38.77. So again, this is basically like a insider trading thing, right? So they're all doing all this stuff. Musk has, what are we at, 8% now or something like that of ownership. You're supposed to disclose at 5%. He hasn't. And yet he's like talking about being on the board, right? I hope you guys understand this, because if they disclose it publicly, suddenly all his meme fans will be buying up the stock because they know Musk wants to buy. And so that's why you keep it private. I just keep making this clear just so it's very obvious what's going on. On March 29th, Musk purchased 2.9 million shares. He keeps buying this stuff of Twitter common stock at an average price of $40.30, right? So the price is going up. So what was it? Last time was at $38.77. Now he's buying it at $40.30. And this is real money we're talking about here, right? You're buying so much of this stuff, 2.9 million shares, right? So every little increment, in price matters considerably. Now we're at March 31st, before trading began on New York Stock Exchange. Musk had a conversation with board member B, right? Another person. The two discussed Musk potentially joining Twitter's board of directors. Musk stated during the conversation that he was considering, among other options, acquiring Twitter. March 31st, Musk purchased 2 million shares, now at $38.82, right? So he purchases at $40. Now he's purchasing at $38.82. Right? It depends on what the market is up to. But again, you want to keep this private so people don't know what you're doing. On April Fool's Day, April 1st, Musk purchased 2.1 million shares. So this is like doing these blocks of 2 million, purchases for $39.34 at the close of trading. Now he owns 9% of Twitter, right? Then on April 1st, it says Musk's wealth manager consulted an attorney. So now they're talking to a lawyer regarding Musk's disclosure obligations under federal securities laws related to his beneficial ownership of 5%, right? So now they're talking to a lawyer. It says during a conversation on April 3rd, board member B formally offered Musk a seat of the board of directors. Musk verbally accepted the offer. Later that day, Twitter sent paperwork over to Musk wealth manager for Musk to complete to join the board. So, but again, they haven't disclosed this to the SEC or the public right now. You're talking about this stuff. Now you see here, finally on April 4th, says Musk publicly disclosed his stake in Twitter and Twitter stock price increases dramatically. So on April 4th, they're going to disclose it here. Before trading on New York Stock Exchange, Musk filed with the SEC the beneficial ownership report of 13G, right? So then it gets released to the public, right? They filed with the SEC. So they delayed a long time. It was like, I think it's 11 days is what it was. Publicly disclosing for the first time that he beneficially owned more than 5% of the outstanding shares of Twitter common stock. The filing was 11 days late. The Schedule 13G showed that Musk beneficially owned more than 9% of Twitter's outstanding stock. On the cover page of 13G, Musk indicated that he was filing to pursue 13D because he had reportedly not acquired the Twitter stock with the purpose of changing or influencing the control of the Twitter. So I guess they're trying to make the case, oh, I was buying the stock, but I didn't want to take control of the Twitter or something like that. I guess that's like the argument that they'll make. But the problem is you're still over the 5%. And then you can see here on April 4, 2022, Musk filed the 13G, and then the stock goes up 27% to now $49.97. So the point being, when you go through stuff, it's pretty obvious. This is a cut and dry case. You didn't file the paperwork. It's plain feel obvious. The SEC is probably going to have probably not going to give him a big penalty. Just fine the guy, settle, and that's it. But like I said, if they don't give him any penalty for this stuff, you'll know that Musk really bought off Trump and faces no penalties for anything, and the law doesn't apply to him at all. And again, I want to go over this very clearly because too many fanboys and fangirls of Musk and Tesla just frankly lie to you or are just too stupid to read and understand this stuff. So you be the judge of how those fanboys and fangirls, address this stuff. But I think, you want laws in place so that the regular retail, investor or anyone out there is a level playing field as much as possible. So, obviously the big money people are always going to have, more info than say you or I. It's just how it is. They're going to do these behind the scenes kind of stuff. Sure. But that's why you have regulations in place. Like you don't want to just let them to do and start trading whatever they want. But there's that. So I'll let you guys be the judge. I want to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think is going to happen to Musk? Will he pay a fine or not, or will he get off scot-free? That's what we're going to find out. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.